Thanks for joining me for this Met Office 10-day trend that will involve the first spell of really wet and windy weather of the autumn. However, it's not expected to last too long. Low pressure has been dominating this week and actually bringing a fairly significant chill, certainly in the mornings. That low pressure has been sitting out to the northeast, allowing northerly winds, hence why it has been a little colder of late. If we put on the jet stream, you can see it's not particularly significant at the moment. It's kind of milling around that area of low pressure, but not especially strong. However, that is about to change. If we look at the broader picture across the Atlantic, the jet stream is getting agitated. A more typical autumnal setup with very strong winds high up in the atmosphere driving across the Atlantic, and that will bring us a fairly dramatic shift in our weather as we head through Friday and into Saturday. Why is the jet stream getting agitated? Well, that's to do with what's going on across the other sides of the Atlantic. Recent Hurricane Fiona and now Hurricane Ian drawing up warm air from the tropics. And what drives the jet stream, or intensifies the jet stream, is a contrast between warm and cold. And with cold air heading south from the poles, hitting that warmer air that's been drawn up by those tropical systems, the jet stream, as I said, is becoming enlivened, and that strong winds high up in the atmosphere will then impact our weather by taking areas of low pressure our way. And this one in particular on Friday will bring us all a spell of wet and windy weather. Ahead of that, just a few showers on Thursday, many places dry and fine, but this low, as it intensifies as it approaches the northwest of Scotland, lots of isobars on the chart, and these weather fronts will swing a band of rain across all areas. A few hours of reasonably heavy rain, but at least with the strong wind, it does tend to move through quite quickly. Let's take a look at that then on Friday. Across eastern parts of England, generally a sunny morning, but it will be a bit chilly. But here comes that rain swinging in. Notice the heavy bursts there, the brighter colours, and it will reach East Anglia in the southeast come Friday evening. Let's have a look at the winds as well, because they are going to get pretty lively. Through the early hours, the strongest winds are going to be across the northwest of Scotland, but intensify across northeast Scotland come Friday afternoon. But everywhere it will be windy, with the winds particularly lively along the south coast late in the day. We could see some very strong gusts as they squeeze through the Dover Strait there. So yes, blustery conditions and a few hours of heavy rain during Friday from this fairly angry looking weather system driven by the jet stream. But it does all clear out of the way by the time we get into Saturday. But does it? Because the low actually stays to the north and it will continue to throw showers our way. And then we've got this little ripple, this little waving weather front that threatens some rain across the south, the potential for that rain to come back across parts of southern England and South Wales. As is always the case with these waves, there's always quite a bit of uncertainty about the position and the timing. So at the moment, if you've got plans for Saturday, keep up to date with the forecast. There is the chance of some more persistent rain across the south. Otherwise, it's a blustery day on Saturday, but not as windy as Friday, with a mixture of sunshine and showers, with most of the showers across the north and the west. As for Sunday, well, if you've got plans for Sunday, better bet for a dry and a brighter day, although there will still be a few showers around, these chiefly across the northwest. Won't be as gusty either, and most places, as I say, will be dry and bright with a bit of sunshine. That's because the area of low pressure and this waving weather fronts finally get pushed out of the way by high pressure building up from the south, and that will bring, say, most places a fine day on Sunday. Out in the Atlantic, though, there is another area of low pressure, and that's how we go into next week. Well, this low likely to be driven up towards the northwest. Again, weather fronts, tightly packed isobars, so a spell of wet and windy weather likely across the northwest. But that high pressure isn't going anywhere too fast, likely to control the weather across certainly the eastern portions of the UK into Monday. And actually, this kind of weather setup is likely to continue, it looks like, for much of next week. If you look at the jet stream pattern now, it's still fairly agitated out in the Atlantic, but it's pushing up to the north, and that's where it's taking low pressure systems between the UK and Iceland. And that is likely to continue, it looks like, for much of next week, with high pressure always closest to the south. So something like this is the most likely pressure pattern through much of next week. As I say, low up to the northwest, high down to the southeast. How far that high extends in, or how far the low extends in, well, that is the big question mark, and the day-to-day details will vary. But broadly speaking, with this kind of pressure setup, as you might imagine, close to the high pressure, it's going to be dry and bright, whereas the closer you are to the low pressure, the more showers you're going to see and the stronger the winds. Meanwhile, with this pressure setup, the winds are always going to be coming in from the southwest, so bringing milder air. So one thing we can be pretty confident about that next week will be a bit warmer than it has been through this week. So looking a little bit milder, but there is that question mark about how far in the high bills and how close the low pressure systems get. But we are likely to see the wettest weather in the northwest and the driest weather across the southeast. And that's borne out by these graphs. When we run the computer model many times, you get these box and whiskers plots. The one at the bottom is for Reading, and the one at the top is for Oban in Western Scotland. And these are showing the amounts of precipitation we're likely to see each day. You can see the peak there. So this is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Both indicating we're likely to see a fair bit of rain in both locations on Friday as that weather system comes through. Could still be some rain in Reading with the position of that waving weather front across the south on Saturday. But after that, the most likely scenario is that actually most days are dry in Reading. Yes, there are spikes with the odd computer model suggesting some showers coming through or a weather front. But the most likely scenario is that a lot of dry weather in Reading. Whereas for Oban, you can see most of the boxes are above zero. So at least on most days, we are expecting some showers to be moving through. So that contrast between the northwest and the southeast. Overall, then, that's how we're looking for much of next week. Largely dry conditions across the south and east, staying fairly showery and breezy across the northwest. But with that wind coming in from the west or the southwest, it will at least be warmer by day and by night compared to this week. For those day-to-day details, as always, stay up to date with everything from the Met Office by following us across social media.